Part 95. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shiyubuletin Chigwa. Chapter 949. Chapter 940, Feudal superstition is not trustworthy, the calculation is really accurate. Regarding Shen Jian's words, although the master of Changhan nunnery was doubtful, he still closed his eyes. She didn't think Shen Jian would harm her. Putting aside the master-disciple relationship between her and Shen Jian, her ability to destroy world-level ghosts and gods alone meant that she was destined not to be killed by ghosts and gods, even if she was severely injured and her own terror level temporarily dropped to the level of ghosts and gods due to distracting thoughts. But her status is always higher than that of ghosts and gods. No matter how amazing and talented the ghosts and gods are, they cannot kill a world-destroying one. This is subject to rules. Not transferred for manpower. Soon. The master of Changhan Temple noticed a cold touch on his wrist. There was also a big warm hand, rubbing her wrist softly, as if it was tying something to her hand. Master, open your eyes. With the sound, the master of Changhan Monastery opened his eyes and looked at his wrist. She saw a bracelet made of red rope tied to her hand, and there was a bell hanging under the bracelet. Every time it shakes, it will make a pleasant sound. The moment the bell rang, a supernatural wave swept over her, calming her mood and allowing her to not suppress her thoughts. This is. The master of Changhan nunnery was a little surprised. This is called the concentric chain. It is a gift I gave to master. I saw that master seemed to be worried in his eyebrows, so I always wanted to help him find something to calm his mind. This concentric chain is perfect, and the bell is because of the twins. On weekdays, as long as the master rings the bell, there will be a reaction on my side, and I can come to the master at any time to help you solve your problems. Said. Shen Jian also showed off the concentric chain on his left wrist. Shake. The bell on the wrist of the master of Changhan Temple also shook a few times. Certainly. What Shen Jian didn't say was that this was actually the Ghost King's exclusive underworld weapon, the soul-suppressing bell. Only the soul-suppressing bell has the ability to soothe the emotions of a world-destroying ghost and god. At the moment, this cheap master's favorability towards him is not high enough. The first thing he needs to do is to improve his favorable impression based on the person's love brain. Giving gifts is the easiest way. If you can give the right gift and make the ghost nun ring all the time, the goodwill that will increase subtly is no less than a heroic rescue of a beauty. The words fell. The master of Changhan Monastery stared at the concentric chain on his wrist, and then looked at the bracelet in Shen Jian's hand that was exactly the same in style and color. He didn't know what he thought of. Is this a couple's model? Does this scoundrel have any thoughts about me? Shen Jian. Hear the voice of the heart. He twitched the corners of his mouth without leaving any trace. Yo-ho. Your love brain is quite sober. And your inner thoughts are too inconsistent with your appearance. How can you suspect that I have the idea of deceiving my teacher? See it? Shen Jian pretended to be careful and said, Master, don't you like it? Although I have been praying for this for a long time, if Master doesn't like it, then just throw it away. Hear the words. Only then did the master of Changhan nunnery come back to his senses. Hey, what on earth is going on in my mind? After 5 years of not seeing each other, he has changed a lot and is more sensible. I can't live up to his kindness. You're interested, I really need it? Her bright eyes fell on Shen Jian, with a slight smile on her face. Shen Jian was stunned for a moment. Looking at the various pheromones he collected, the master of Changhan Temple has never smiled once, as if he was born with a loss of the ability to smile, but now. She smiled. Although it is very shallow, it is like 100 flowers in bloom, and the fragrance comes from it, which is pleasing to the eye. Favorability, add 5, 70 care. The strange color in Shen Jian's eyes deepened. Look at each other and smile. Chatted for a long time. Shen Jian stood up and left. Walk out of Mingxintang. The next second, he turned around and flashed the concentric chain on his wrist, and the crisp bell rang again. Master, if you feel depressed, remember to ask the disciple to come here. No matter where you are, the disciple will come back as soon as possible. Say it. Shen Jian turned around and disappeared. Only the master of Changhan Temple was left sitting on the futon, looking at the direction Shen Jian left with soft eyes. She has been quiet all her life. Never quarrel with others, never fight with others, never get involved with others, just guard your own 1/3 of an acre of land, eat fasting and chant Buddha's name, without any involvement. Shen Jian is her first apprentice. Also the last one. Before she changed her job, although she didn't hate Shen Jian and would guide her carefully, the relationship between master and apprentice was always at the shallowest stage. She didn't want to understand Shen Jian, and Shen Jian didn't want to understand her. The two of them just followed the most basic relationship between master and disciple. But just today, she suddenly felt that it would be good to have such a disciple. Even the distracting thoughts caused by the love disaster weakened a lot at this moment. What a big change, but, not bad. Come out of Changhan Temple. A belated chat message came into Shen Jian's sight. The time was a day and a half ago. It happened to be the time when he entered Changhan Temple. Shen Jian was thoughtful. Looking back, I looked back at the building which was no longer bright but had a ghostly air. The multiple ghost realms developed by this cheap master can temporarily block the intervention of horror games. Is there anything special about her? Thinking. Shen Jian returned his gaze to the chat interface. King Quan, sir, something big has happened and the plot has been advanced. Seemingly seeing that Shen Jian didn't respond, the other party directly told the cause and effect. Wan Quan, according to Tianlong, it will take at least 2 months until the true Buddhist disciples use the resources of the Lin family to advance to the level of ghosts and gods before they can explore the mystery of their life experience. However, a day and a half ago, the true Buddhist disciples set off early. King Quan, we all suspect that it is you, sir, who did not play your cards according to the plot and interrupted the promotion path of the true Buddha. In addition, the Lin family is now on the verge of destruction. The true Buddha has no choice but to pin its hopes on one's own life experience. Kingdom, in the plots of previous lives, the true Buddha has an accompanying ghost jade pendant. This supernatural prop will guide the true Buddha to a supernatural place, where the true Buddha will find information about his life experience through clues. He finally found out that he was a Buddhist disciple of the Zhenfo Temple. He successfully recognized his relatives and was welcomed back by the Zhenfo Temple. Look at the chat content on the panel. Shen Jian's eyes were dark. He had already anticipated the plot changes caused by the butterfly effect. If nothing else, at least Thriller Game will not watch Luo Fengtian's last reincarnation deviate from the normal direction in the 4th episode. What's more, this is a good thing. If the protagonist doesn't take action, how can he complete the main mission and extract the authority of Luo Fengtian in the 4th department bit by bit? He is not afraid of the protagonist taking action, but he is afraid of the protagonist lying flat. King Yama, where are you? Less than 3 seconds. The other end responds in seconds. King Quan, sir, you finally answered. My incarnation is following Tianlong and his group. The location is in a ghost area on the outskirts. It requires a special way to enter. It is an isolated ghost town and does not belong to the realm of Buddhism. Shen Jian was slightly surprised. Not in Buddhist country? This is quite covered. The Buddhist kingdom in the 9-star copy here is only divided into an outer city and an inner city. Although the area exceeds some small countries in the real world, it still falls within the scope of the city. If it can be called a suburb, you can imagine how remote it is. Although there are cities in those areas, when calculated carefully, they are not considered territories under the jurisdiction of the Buddhist kingdom, but only bear the title of being governed by the Buddhist kingdom. In layman's terms, it is a subordinate organization of the sect's external forces. Think about it? Shen Jian started to ask. King Yama, are you there too? Join in the fun? Wan Quan, no, I want to be an NPC. King Yama? King Quan, sir, do you still remember that you snatched away the important supernatural props belonging to the true Buddha temple? That ghost mirror is the key to the protagonist breaking into the ghost town, especially the divination, which can help true Buddha to identify many places the degree of danger is high, but now, the true Buddha has neither advanced to the level of ghosts nor gods, and has no supernatural means to avoid disasters, so he is likely to die in the ghost town. King Yama, so Tianlong, who is familiar with the plot, serves as part of the effect of the ghost mirror? Wan Quan, yes. King Yama, very good, I will come now. Shen Jian's face showed something intriguing. Fortunately, this Tianlong could think of such a way to avoid danger for the protagonist without directly intervening in the protagonist's cause and effect, making it difficult for him. But it's a pity. He won't let the other party get what he wants. Now is not the best time for the true Buddha to return. Just thinking about it? The scarlet panel emerged. Side mission has been activated. It has been detected that the player has modified the main mission and is loading a new branch. Loading successfully. Side mission, snatch the identity of the true Buddha. Content, what is fake is always fake. Once the true Buddha returns, half of the player's love will be taken away as a plot villain. This is not something that happens. Task requirements, snatch the ghost relics that prove the identity of the true Buddha. Reward, mission progress adds 17%. Note, the ghost relic is the only tool to verify the true identity of the Buddha. Note, ghost relics have compliance requirements. Note, true Buddhists have the ability to partially sense ghost relics. See this line of prompts. Shen Jian was thoughtful. This time in thriller game, the content of the reminder is too detailed. The 3-line comment basically told him clearly, go quickly, once the ghost relic is taken by a true Buddhist disciple, your defeat is already doomed. Think about it. Shen Jian took out the ghost mirror. This is what Wan Quan calls an important supernatural prop. It is also a key method that implements 60% of the protagonist's plot. It has 2 special powers, divination and reading voices. Especially the latter, he had already experienced it, and it was indeed extraordinary. As for the former, he hasn't tried it yet. Just right. He can do some calculations today. Then, Shen Jian wrote down the purpose of the trip according to the usage of Ghost Mirror. Instantly, a scarlet halo appeared on the Ghost Mirror. Shen Jian put his hand into it. Draw out a blood charm. It is a serious disaster and there is no way to avoid it. It is not advisable to go out. Shen Jian frowned slightly. Not suitable to go out? What a joke. Shen Jian does not believe in evil. Write the goal down again. It's very bad, it's not advisable to go out. Shen Jian cursed, what a futile superstition, the calculation is not accurate at all. Said. Regardless of the rule that one target can only be counted once, he directly stretched his hand into the ghost mirror. Pull it out and take a look. Still very bad. Shen Jian continued to dig. On the 4th try, the divination result finally turned out to be little evil. Shen Jian was still dissatisfied. Futile superstition kills people. How can a person's good or bad luck be easily calculated? If that's the case, that person doesn't have to do anything for the whole day, and can just sit back and wait at home until a lucky day comes before going out. This is totally unbelievable. Immediately, Shen Jian turned around and dug out. Mixed good and bad. Take it again. Xiaoji took a look. Shen Jian's expression softened a lot. touched it again. Good luck, it is time to go out and have good luck. Shen Jian was satisfied. Hey, your calculations are really accurate. I know I will have good luck today. Ghost mirror. Grass. After drawing Daji's trump card, Shen Jian did not hesitate and immediately chose to go out. On the road, he saw Lin Yangzi, a female ghost in a red dress who had been waiting at the foot of the mountain. The heroine appointed by King Kesidagarba remained stubborn in her eyes, but her arrogant head had lowered, and her delicate face carved with pink and jade was full of fatigue. He looked completely exhausted. But it's normal. She was the only pillar of the huge Lin family, and she had no management experience. She was able to ensure that the real estate under her command maintained expenses, which was already an extraordinary performance, let alone an environment surrounded by wolves. Recently, this proud eldest lady of the Lin family has been hit hard and can only watch helplessly as the Lin family's properties are being annexed and divided up by outsiders. Even the last old house of the Lin family is unable to be protected. As the 103 incarnation of Kesidagarba, Wang Hao did not tell anyone about his departure because he was not sure that finding his life experience would save the Lin family from disaster. In this situation, the eldest daughter of the Lin family is isolated and helpless. It feels like being abandoned by the world. There is no other way but to beg him. Think of this. Shen Jian suddenly felt that it might be a good time to take advantage of the situation. Especially since the protagonist has already explored the mystery of her life experience in advance. Once she returns, the eldest lady of the Lin family may never have a chance to solve the mystery after she finds some meager hope. Think about it. Shen Jian summoned a ghost monk. He was ordered to bring the eldest daughter of the Lin family back to Zhenfo Temple and to the temple where he lived. When he comes back, it's almost time. Soon. Outer City. Shen Jian saw the true form of Wang Quan. And under the leadership of the other party, they came to an open space on the outskirts of the Buddha kingdom. In front of you is a bluestone path. Wang Quan said, "My lord, this ghost town will be reflected at around 3 o'clock every night, and disappear on time at 3 o'clock. We only have 3 minutes. Moreover, I have just received a new side mission notification. The time limit is 12 hours. I must assist the true Buddha to successfully find the ghost relics that prove his identity. Otherwise, it will be regarded as a mission failure and will affect the settlement of the final clearance reward." Hear this. Shen Jian glanced at the sky. At noon. 12 hours later, just before 12 p.m., there was still nearly 3 hours left before the ghost town opened at 3 a.m. This is to make a time difference. Shen Jian sneered. Step out with your right foot. Accompanied by a buzzing sound. At the end of the bluestone path, the shadow of a deserted ghost town is gradually appearing, becoming clearer and clearer. Has entered the mission territory. The side mission is in progress. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Buletin Chi Gua. Chapter 950. Ghost Town. This place is located in a ghost land with few human traces. It is extremely desolate and gloomy, and a thin haze fills all directions, making it difficult to see the real thing. In front of the houses on both sides, a group of players were sitting at the gate. Washing clothes, painting walls, laying bricks and tiles, sewing and mending, it looks like a local in a ghost town repeating the same actions. But in a place that others don't know. The players were chatting happily. Brother Tian, is it really useful for us to do this? We won't get involved in the cause and effect. We will be liquidated in the future. One player asked, licking his face. Now, there are basically no players who doubt the authenticity of Tianlong's words. Although the previous plots have undergone earth-shaking changes, this does not mean that what the other party said is false. Especially a place like a ghost town, if you haven't experienced it before, it will never be so easy to find it. Not to mention, he can also accurately tell which haunted houses have no owners. With such an ability, apart from the ghosts who have precognitive supernatural powers, they can only be seen in previous lives. Tianlong was holding a cigarette at the door and said in a leisurely manner, the cause and effect are not just related to each other. If this is the case, then the true Buddha will kill too many people, at least half of the population of the Buddha country will be killed. According to my summary, the targets that can be involved in cause and effect and liquidated all play a huge impact in the lives of true Buddhists. For example, the protagonist's adoptive parents and family help him grow, the childhood sweetheart family accelerates his growth in strength. There is a closer relationship. There is also the ghost Buddha mother, the master of Changhan Temple, who gave him the basic plan to control the supernatural place after he returned to the true Buddha temple, and then there are people like me in previous lives, who either directly or indirectly told him what to do next, affecting his subsequent development. Only in this way can it really be considered cause and effect. As for other things, such as talking or asking about things, they can also be considered cause and effect, but they are only weak cause and effect and are not in the category of settlement. Speaking of which, Tianlong paused for a moment, with a look of strategizing confidence on his face. Remember what I said when the true Buddha asked me, right? One player recalled, you told the true Buddha not to go far, saying that there was danger in the depths, and gave examples of the most dangerous places, and advised him not to die in vain and to leave quickly. That's right. Tianlong nodded, took a puff of dry cigarette, and the fake smile on his face became more and more realistic. I only did what a passerby NPC should do, even if I knew what the true Buddha was looking for. I didn't obviously. The dangerous places used as examples are real difficulties encountered by true Buddhists in the previous 2 lives. After I explained it, even if the protagonist is only a top ghost king now, there is still a chance to pass. Of course, I don't dare to go into details, and no matter how much I say, I can't calculate it as quickly as directly using divination methods. After all, there is not only one change in supernatural things. If the situation changes in this life, then the true Buddha will still be there is a risk of crash. As soon as these words came out, all the players breathed a sigh of relief. Their main mission is to assist the true Buddha to complete the 103 incarnation. Whether it is direct or indirect, it can be counted. Especially when they learned that the dungeon would usher in the final liquidation of the protagonist and cut off the worldly ties, they were even more afraid to join the true Buddha lineup at will. At the moment, players have reached a consensus. Even if it means clearing the 9-star dungeon with the lowest F-level rating, they are willing to do so. As for higher, they don't expect it. I don't dare to ask for it. Because the settlement evaluation of C level and above must have an intersection with the true Buddha and directly provide help. In this case, it is completely like sticking out the head and waiting for the other party to end their love and then extend the butcher knife to them. Aside. The ghost slave incarnation of Kingdom listened silently, his expression slightly dull, but for him who always covered his eyes under his hair, this subtle change would not be noticed by anyone. At this time, in front of players, urgent scarlet text suddenly appeared. It has been detected that an unknown entity has torn apart the ghost town barrier, and the difficulty of the current limited time mission has changed. Limited time task, help the true Buddha get the ghost relic. Content, an ancient and mysterious existence has entered the ghost town. His goal is the same as that of the true Buddha: stop him and lead the true Buddha to get the ghost relics as soon as possible. Reward, a ghost level supernatural weapon. Task tip, this reward will be obtained at the ancestral hall where the true Buddha got the ghost relics. Task tips, due to changes in limited time tasks, the current task time has been shortened. Countdown, 1 hour. The sudden change made all the players look shocked. An ancient and mysterious existence. Damn it. Please tell me your name directly. Humming hate the Riddler. Looking at the words that were so scarlet that they looked eerie, the players swallowed their saliva. His eyes especially fell on the mission rewards. The burning passion and greed in his eyes were almost impossible to hide. The wages of avarice is death. The unknown existence mentioned in the horror game does make people shudder, but the temptation brought by a ghost-level supernatural weapon still makes a small number of players extremely jealous. After all, the temptation is too great. Too big to imagine. Each one of their group is a ghost master who controls the 3 ghost puzzles. The ghost puzzles controlled by a few people even have complete ghost bodies. Otherwise, they would not be able to control the terrifying level as humans. Promoted to above the Ghost King. But even so, not all of them possess powerful supernatural weapons. Most of them are props obtained from dungeons with 3 stars or below. It is naturally more than enough to be placed at the red level. But at the Ghost King level, it seems a little inadequate. Under normal circumstances, it would take several attacks to cause damage to the Ghost King once. But ghost-level supernatural weapons are different. This type of supernatural weapon has its own terrifying level. Even if it is only held by a Ghost King, it can cause fatal supernatural effects to the top Ghost King. Even if it cannot be used multiple times, it is still the ultimate trump card. Those below the level of ghosts and gods will have no opponents. With such a temptation, how can players not be tempted by it? Brother Tien, is this also the breaking point of the plot? For a long time. Only then did the players react, their eyes moving wildly, and no matter how deeply the movements in their eyes were hidden, they still showed flaws. What he meant was obvious. If this is also a plot point, it means that the true Buddha won in the end. In other words, there are ghosts in the ghost town who compete with this ancient existence, and in the end they side with the true Buddha and are allies. Facing everyone's gaze, Tianlong's face sank, and he said word by word, "No, the ghost town itself is a test, how could anyone interfere? It's chaos, this 103 incarnation is completely chaos. Say it." He didn't care about pretending to be an NPC and ran towards the direction of the real Buddha. The limited time mission of the thriller game has been shortened from 12 hours to 1 hour, which shows that time is tight and if you don't hurry up, accidents will happen soon. He could not imagine that if the true Buddhist disciple could not obtain the ghost relics to prove his identity in the end, how would he return to the true Buddhist temple and inherit the Buddhist kingdom? What the hell is going on? Everything has changed since this group of players came in. At the same time, entrance to Ghost Town. Shen Jian forcefully tore down the barrier between the Buddhist kingdom and the ghost town, and stepped into this ghostly town, which was like a dead town. Behind, followed by the true form of King Quan with a look of awe, he stepped out and tore open the entrance to the ghost realm. His poor imagination could not imagine how difficult it would be. He just knows. Lord of Hell, YYDS. Sir, I synchronized the incarnation's information and found something strange. That group of people seemed to have received a new mission notice, but I don't know why, I didn't receive it. Shen Jian grinned. Someone is anxious, but I won't say who it is. Judging from the current changes, the mission system of the thriller game is biased towards the Buddhist country to a certain extent, and it is also known to block royal power, but unfortunately, the thriller game cannot clearly point out that they have a traitor. He estimated. Thriller games either shorten the time and force players to intervene directly, or they provide amazing mission rewards to tempt players to take risks. After all, some of the players themselves know where the ghost relics are placed. If they personally participate, even if the level of terror is not as good as that of the real Buddha, the time can be shortened to the greatest extent. Has Tianlong ever said where the ghost relics are? Shen Jian, the old Shinto. No rush at all. Because the entrance to the ghost town has been blocked by him. Regardless of whether he got it or not, it was all his in the end. No. Wang Quan shook his head. He once asked a question indirectly, but Tianlong did not respond to him. He just gave him an intriguing look, as if he had other plans and did not intend to share the news. See it? He couldn't ask any more questions. Then walk along the dangerous place mentioned by the other party. There is no way to escape. Shen Jian raised his lips. Take a big step forward. Soon. According to the location, Shen Jian came to the alley on the east side. Here is a crisscrossing alley. It's narrow, dark, and gloomy, and you can't even see the end of it. Wang Quan said with a serious face, according to Tianlong's words, this is a special supernatural environment. Once entering it, both ghosts and ghost masters will lose their supernatural powers and become normal human beings, while ghosts it will appear in an unimaginable form when you are most tired. In the beginning, the true Buddha almost capsized in the gutter of this place. If he hadn't divined the result in advance and knew the best way to pass the customs, he would have been able to get in but not get out. Said. Wang Quan looked at Shen Jian. His eyes seemed to say, brother, why don't you do the math? You are not afraid. But I'm a little scared. Shen Jian glanced at him. He casually took out a blood charm from his body. Wang Quan took a look. Like falling into an ice cave? Big bad. I took the wrong one, it's this one. Take another look. Little evil. Forget it, just take it all and pick out Daji yourself. Said. Shen Jian gave all the blood talismans to Wang Quan. Let him pick out the lucky one. And he couldn't wait to walk in. Looking at the divination results of at least 7 or 8 cards in his hand. The royal power was in disarray. No. This is for you to predict the results and seek good fortune and avoid harm, not for you to be stubborn and face difficulties. Do you understand the meaning of divination? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yubuletin Chigua. Chapter 951. Looking at the stack of blood talismans in his hand, Wang Quan felt like crying. The supernatural place is no different than other places. If you are not careful, you will die. Even he, the number one person in the supernatural circle of Dragon Kingdom, needs to be careful in this regard. Otherwise, how could he follow Godeo and hide his true body in the body of a fierce ghost, and then release the ghost slave incarnation to walk in the copy? The purpose is to provide additional layers of insurance to prevent accidental death. It can be said. Ever since Jigsaw, the 3 ghosts he controlled, took shape, he has never exposed his true body in a copy of the thriller game. This is the first time. But now, why does he feel that Lord Yama in front of him seems, maybe, seems a bit unreliable? Although the king of hell in the underworld is in charge of the cycle of life and death, even if he dies, he can become a ghost in the form of a ghost, which does not count as a complete death, but he doesn't want to die yet. The human body is still attractive to him. Sir, would you like me to ask Tianlong for more specific information? Shen Jian couldn't help but glance at him. Somewhat funny. Previously in the Kingguo dungeon, the opponent had been staying in the death row dejectedly. He did not participate in the conversation between players, nor did he choose the prince's lineup, so he just cleared the dungeon in a messy manner. He originally thought that the other party recognized his identity, so he chose to lie down. But now, he may know a deeper reason. Fear death. This guy who is the number 1 in the supernatural circle of the Dragon Kingdom and is known as the top ghost master is actually a coward. A person who is afraid of death walks in front of all the players in this extremely dangerous place of a thriller game, far ahead of everyone. I have to say, this is very dramatic. If it were exposed, no one would believe it. Think about it. Shen Jian didn't look back, waved his hand and said, "Don't worry, even if I am not your opponent, I can still escape successfully. When the time comes, I will come back and avenge you." King Quan. Looking at Shen Jian's "don't worry" attitude, the corner of his mouth twitched slightly. "God avenged me. I really thank you. It's so affectionate and righteous. Only, if possible, I would rather go back alive. Rather than being the catalyst for your explosion. You, the majestic king of hell, cannot have a setting where you can only exert your strength by having dead subordinates." Thinking. He shivered. He followed quickly. The narrow alley only allows one person to pass through, and the field of view is also insufficient. If a ghost is ambushing around the corner, if you just stab him, he will be caught off guard and have no way to counterattack. Every time I think of it, Wang Quan couldn't help but rub his palms, feeling that his palms were sweating, and a sense of warmth came over his whole body to protect him from the occasional gusts of wind. The next second, he paused. His expression changed drastically. Warm. What a joke. He is a ghost master, but he still controls two complete demons. 70% of his internal organs have been transformed into demons. How can he still feel the warmth of being a human being? This is obviously not normal. Thinking of the information he had just spoken, Wang Quan knew that he had been tricked and fell into a special supernatural environment, and his ghostly body had returned to a normal human body. One more perception. Really? The ghost puzzle piece in the body is also gone. No matter how hard he tried, there was no response. Wang Quan's expression was serious. In the intelligence, Tianlong did not mention the strength of the source ghost that almost caused the true Buddha to capsize in the gutter, but he probably knows it now. Spirits. No doubt. This is definitely a supernatural method only possessed by ghosts and gods. The moisturizing was so quiet that he didn't even have a chance to react. If he had just come in alone, he would have been doomed at this moment. After all, now he is a normal human being. Even if he encounters a white-clothed level ghost head-on, he has no chance. Think of this. He suddenly looked at Shen Jian. He wanted to grab Shen Jian's collar, but after a mental struggle, he gave up the idea. He just followed Shen Jian step by step. Around the corner. He also walked carefully against the wall on the other side. I'm afraid that a ghost will suddenly pop up and give him a worrying meal. Simply. No surprises. This long and narrow alley seems to be simply a bit long. At this time, Shen Jian in front said coldly, "Didn't you notice that there is an extra person among us?" What? Wang Quan's tone ranged from stunned to horrified to frightened. The expressions are so varied that he doesn't look like a ghost master who has been corrupted by a powerful ghost, but a real human being. Even the frightened hair was fully expressed. This was unimaginable just a few minutes ago. At that time, even if Shen Jian suddenly said that there was a ghost standing behind him, he might be scared or frightened, but his expression would not change so much, and his body would not have various stress reactions. In an instant, Wang Quan glanced around and happened to see an additional figure on Shen Jian's left side. Take a closer look. It was actually himself. The two looked at each other. You look at me and I look at you, the expressions are exactly the same. Even high-definition and uncensored photos cannot tell the slight difference in appearance between the two. Sir, he is a ghost. Sir, he is a ghost. Two voices sounded at the same time. Then, the two of them were stunned. His face darkened. Pointing at each other as if in sync. He's impersonating me. He's impersonating me. I am the real one. I am the real one. Hear this. Wang Quan's expression changed instantly. This scene is like looking in the mirror and seeing an extra version of yourself, as if it were carved out of the same mold. It's horrifying to the extreme. Especially when he lost the ghost jigsaw and had no countermeasures, this feeling of powerlessness became even stronger. He looked at Shen Jian. "Sir, you can certainly see the difference between us." The other royal power couldn't bear to show weakness and responded with the same rhetoric. "It means that you can verify your identity at any time." Shen Jian's eyes were strange. "Think about it. Raise your hand." A burning black flame emerged and rose in the palm of his hand. "To be honest, I can't recognize it, but I have a simpler way. This is the fire of hell. If the spirit is not extinguished, it will never be extinguished. Whoever of you can live longer under the burning of the fire of hell will be the winner ghost." Both of them were stunned. The eyes of the other King Quan widened. Subconsciously, what if I get burned to death first? Shen Jian shrugged. Being burned to death first proves that he is my companion. What else can I do? Hear the words. Both of them looked confused. I gather you are the devil. So discerning. This is somewhat expensive. And with your tone, does the word companion hold so little weight in your heart? Mad. Miscalculated. The other King Quan was cursing. As the ghost in the mirror, he was able to advance to the level of ghost and god alive. It can be imagined that his supernatural strength is definitely not bad. In the supernatural environment he created, anyone who has a ghost will lose all supernatural abilities and become a weak human being. However, he can perfectly imitate others through supernatural effects. Not only his appearance, but even his memory will be shared by him. More importantly, in his home field, although he cannot use supernatural powers, his yin qi will not be restricted. Even ghosts and gods of the same level cannot escape the fate of being killed by him if they accidentally fall into it. Don't know why. He found that he could not invade Shen Jian. We can only retreat and choose another target. But he never expected it. This guy actually proved his identity by setting them on fire and dying together. Grass. Your companion must have a grudge against you. Really, no living king of hell can compare to you. Think of this. Mirror Ghost is already preparing to retreat. He is one of the gatekeeper ghosts who is responsible for guarding ghost relics. The highest order in life is to wait for the destined person and keep everyone else close. And this man is definitely not a destined person. Only this. He was certain. That being the case, then he would play with the other person. It's useless to just clear the level here anyway, so let's leave the trouble to the next gatekeeper. Thoughts are spinning. The royal power disguised by the mirror ghost retreated. However, just took half a step back. Shen Jian cast his approving gaze. You stepped forward because you wanted to be the first to try it. Very good. This is honest. I believe you. Mirror Ghost? He looked down. He only took half a step back. From the perspective of an uninformed person, he was not just taking a step forward and fighting for the first place. Gan. Mirror Ghost's face turned green. He looked like he wanted to say something, but couldn't. What else could he say? Say you don't have this idea? Said that he actually wanted to retreat just now? Then wouldn't that be a naked admission? For a while. He is riding a tiger and is unable to dismount. And Shen Jian solved this tangled point for him. The next second, the rising hellfire flames ignited on the mirror ghost. At once, the dark flames burned brighter and brighter. Howls arose. In less than 5 seconds, a ghost-level ghost was burned to death on the spot. Not even a chance to counterattack. The moment you are entangled in the fire of hell, you are destined to have no other solution except complete death. The supernatural power will never be extinguished. This is not a joke. But the flame will disappear only when it is really completely burned out. Watch this scene. Wang Quan's saliva secreted more frequently. The whole person was almost pressed against the wall, with a horrified expression. After all, Although he is not a ghost, 70% of his body has been turned into a ghost. If he is really contaminated by the flames of hellfire, he will probably be burned until only half his head and a few small intestines are left. Damn it! No one told him that following a Hell King would be such a dangerous thing. Is this really the King of Hell? This is not a step-by-step breeding. Sir, there is still a small fragment of the jade pendant on his body that has not been burned cleanly. Wang Quan pointed to a piece of golden jade pendant left over on the ground and said hesitantly, I seem to have seen this style before. A true Buddha has half of such a jade pendant, and this seems to be part of the other half. Shen Jian picked it up. Hey, collect the cards to unlock the final gift package. End of this chapter. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the King of Hell of the 10th Palace. Author, Shi Yubuletin Chigua. Chapter 952. Picking up the fragments of the golden jade pendant on the ground, Shen Jian slowly grinned. He is familiar with this operation. Isn't it just collecting cards to open the final gift package? The protagonist owns half of the accompanying jade pendant. The jade pendant contains clues about the ghost town. The protagonist only needs to find it at the right time and pass the test to become a destined person and collect the complete golden jade pendant. A very complete set of trials. Shen Jian guessed. The function of this golden jade pendant, in addition to providing clues to true Buddhist disciples, should also be a medium to open up a supernatural place, where the so-called ghost relics are located. Look at it this way. The role of ghost relics is probably not just to prove identity, but may also include some of Ksatigarba's great power. Use it as a trump card for your own reincarnation. Think of this. Shen Jian was thoughtful. The interest in his eyes deepened. Let's go, don't miss any of the gatekeeper ghosts. As ghost controllers, we are telling the same story. We would rather kill the wrong ones than let them go. Said. Shen Jian began to walk through the alley. Walk towards the next location. Behind. Wang Quan looked at the increasingly excited Shen Jian and couldn't help but grin. God would rather kill the wrong person than let him go. Is there a possibility that we ghost masters are not that powerful at all? As soon as your map cannon was fired, those who didn't know it would have thought that we ghost masters were so powerful that we could even kill ghosts and gods at the drop of a hat. No kidding, you have a class of your own. Don't get involved with us. We don't deserve it. Soon. Out of the alley. A group of low-rise buildings that were dilapidated and deserted for a long time came into view. There was nothing all around. There is no lingering sound. It's terrifying. Especially when the cold wind blows, it is cold to the bone, adding a bit of horror to the atmosphere. Wang Quan took a look. Somewhat stunned. Because he discovered that after coming out of the east alleyway, he seemed to be close to the center. Looking at it from a distance, he could see an ancestral hall standing on the back of this low-rise building complex. The door of the ancestral hall is closed. Looking faintly, you can see an obvious groove at the door. It seems to be used to place something. His eyes lit up. Sir, that seems to be the core of the ghost town. The goal of the true Buddha should be here, and this seems to be the last barrier to protect the ancestral hall, and it is also the most dangerous place in the ghost town as mentioned by Tianlong. Said. Wang Quan took a few more glances at the rows of houses in the low-rise buildings. A cursory look. There are 10 houses in total. Every house is lit with a white lantern. The white light shines through the screen window and projects outside, showing the fierce appearance of each fierce ghost. See this. King Quan is so excited. The eyes covered by the hair on his forehead still look decadent, but his horrifying emotions could be vaguely seen on his decadent face. My mother-in-law. 10 households, at least 10 ghosts. And those who can guard here will not be lower than the top ghost king in terror level. What's more, these may even be 10 ghosts and gods. After all, This is a 9-star copy. Ghosts and gods that are extremely rare in the horror world and only exist in legends. In the deep ghost realm of Kingwo, they can only be regarded as the cutting-edge combat power, not the strongest. By analogy, in a 9-star dungeon like Buddha country, ghosts and gods can only be regarded as high-end combat power. In a trial place specially prepared for true Buddhist disciples, it does not seem to be unacceptable to have more than a dozen ghosts and gods sitting there. He even doubted it. This entire ghost town is the property of the true Buddha, including more than a dozen ghosts and gods, who are the team of the true Buddha who will compete with the fake Buddha in the future. Thinking. Wan Quan's mind was running rapidly. Sir, according to Tianlong, in addition to the owners of the 10 houses here, there is also a gatekeeper ghost watching here the whole time. The rules are to play games, 10 households, 10 game types. As long as you win 3 times, you will be considered successful. Which house you enter means that you have officially accepted the game of that house. Only after you pass the level can the white lanterns in the house turn red. If you walk out, you will not be considered eliminated. Otherwise, you will end up being beaten to death by 10 families. But Tianlong doesn't dare to go into too much detail about the 10 specific game types, for fear of being suspected by true Buddhists. I think, we can look for clues outside, there is no need to rush. The words have not yet finished. Bang! Shen Jian had already kicked the nearest door open. He also shouted, "Open the door, the community is sending warmth." While talking, Bian walked in minding his own business. King Quan. So reckless. Brother, you are not a person from the underworld yet. I am afraid that even 9 lives are not enough. Are all the underworlds so domineering? He wanted to cry but had no tears. If he had known this, he should have come in the form of a ghost slave. As for now, there is only one way to go. He didn't dare to bet that if he stood outside, he would be wiped out by the gatekeepers watching over here. Crunch. Enter the house. A small bungalow of 50 square meters came into view. There wasn't much light in the room. Only the rough outline of the item can be seen. Through a few rays of white light in front of the screen window, you can see a portrait hanging on the wall. The portrait is of a little girl. Long and innocent. But under the incandescent light, the little girl's face looked extremely pale, as if a light source had affected the little girl in the portrait. The white light flickered, and a ferocious smile appeared on the corner of the little girl's mouth. Immediately afterwards, the little girl is missing. Disappear from the image. That moment, the royal power is like a gleam on the back. The hairs all over his body stand on end. This is not about being scared. But the danger is really coming. He could clearly sense that he was being targeted by something. Just thinking about it? The next second, an innocent voice sounded in his ears. "Uncle, do you want to play hide and seek with me? It's very fun. Do you want me to teach you how to play?" Although the words were asking, 3 ghost hands suddenly appeared from behind and dragged him to the cabinet where he was lying on his side. Grown-ups. In desperation, Wan Quan could only yell. Shen Jian, who was concentrating on playing games and rummaging under the bed, poked his head out and saw Wan Quan's neck being held tightly by 3 ghost hands. His neck was covered in black and blue, and he was struggling painfully. But the struggle has almost no effect. He was forcefully dragged to the closet. Apparently, the owner of this room is hiding in the closet. And the first one she attacked was the king, who was the easiest to deal with. This made Shen Jian suddenly feel that sometimes bringing 1 or 2 players over would have great results. Didn't you see that within 30 seconds of walking in, the ghost immediately took action? What does this mean? It shows that ghosts think that the royal power is not threatening, and can be solved by hooking their fingers, so there is no need to waste too much time in torture. It is simply not suitable for players to use to seduce evil ghosts. Thoughts are spinning. Shen Jian grinned. He rushed forward with a smile on his face. Reach out and pull. The royal power was thrown aside. Subsequently, Shen Jian got in. In the cabinet, a little girl who looked to be only 4 or 5 years old opened her mouth that was too big for her age, preparing to swallow the prey and satisfy her appetite for this period of time. She was stunned when she saw Shen Jian opening the cabinet. But Shen Jian's eyes lit up. After getting out, he thoughtfully closed the cabinet door. Gigi smiled, little sister is so cute. Are you here to play hide and seek? Big brother is very good at this game. He played it twice, and each time he was killed in the shortest time, and found all the kid. Little girl. She was even more confused. No. Do you want to eat fried cakes? Now these people who come from outside are already immune to this level of games, and have even turned against guests? Not that much. I think I'm quite scary. 3 ghosts in one mouthful is no problem at all. Besides, in my home stadium, you are so arrogant and don't take me seriously. Doesn't this mean you don't respect me a little bit? Think of this. The little girl's ghostly eyes became faint. The closed mouth opened unconsciously and began to open wide. Weird sounds came from this bloody mouth. Giggle, bro, we are indeed playing a hide and seek game, and the ghost has already come in, and it is among us. Said. Her hands also reached out simultaneously. As a ghost, she has all the tricks up her sleeve. A pair of ghost hands can extend from any target's body structure, and there is no limit to the number. If she wanted to, she could grow ghost hands on the enemy's organs, causing the enemy to collapse from the inside. Even enemies hidden deep in the ghost realm, or even under multiple layers of ghost realm, her ghost hands can follow the medium and pull them out. Certainly. This lacks beauty. She doesn't like it. What she prefers is to eat her enemies inch by inch. Just like snacks to satisfy your appetite. Crunchy. At this time, her ghostly hand suddenly touched something weird. It was round, with some bumps on it, and it was a bit irritating. As a gourmet for so many years, she judged that it should be human facial features, but this irritating feeling, it doesn't look like normal facial features, but rather like a head with only bones left. The little girl's heart skipped a beat. No. This guy carries around a head with only a skeleton left? What kind of hobby is this? Don't you think it's creepy? She remained calm, then stretched out a second ghost hand from the man and grabbed him again. He grabbed a bloody mace. The other end of the mace was covered with sharp nails, and there were a few pieces of meat hanging on the nails. Little girl. She doesn't believe in evil. Keep groping. I touched something irregular again. Grab it and take a look. It turned out to be an irregularly serrated sword stained with blood. The moment I took it out, it took up the entire wardrobe. The strong smell of blood and the howling of the ghosts who died tragically above started to growl uncontrollably. The little girl looked even stiffer. Damn it! You are outrageous. There is a mace hidden on my body, and I can still comfort myself that it is hidden behind my back, but, how did you hide such a huge serrated sword on your body? And this time I was groping inside your body. How did I find this big knife? The more I think about it, she was getting more and more creepy. She felt that the man opposite her who was staying in the closet with her was very abnormal. Extremely weird. Just in time. The little girl noticed from the corner of her eye that in the darkness, there was a touch of green in the eyes of the man opposite her. He was staring straight at her, as if he was a hunter waiting for his prey to discover the truth. This time, the little girl panicked even more. Suddenly I remembered what I said. The ghost is among us. 2 minutes ago. The ghost she was talking about was her. 2 minutes later. He suddenly felt that the man opposite him was the ghost. She thought that the other party had stepped into her trap, but little did she know that it was her who had innocently entered the hunter's trap. Ah! The little girl couldn't hold back anymore. He immediately opened the closet and ran out crawling. The next second, a big cold hand grabbed her ankle, dragged her back bit by bit. "Ja, little sister, aren't you playing games with Big Brother? Why are you out? Come, Big Brother will teach you a more fun game." While talking, Shen Jian let out a sinister laugh. "Use your big hands little by little." He slowly pulled the little girl back. "No, no, help, uncle, help me." The little girl was horrified to the extreme, with a grimace on her face. Both hands were firmly pressed on the floor, and a long nail mark was dragged out. But he still couldn't resist and was pulled back. She began to ask for help from the frightened Wan Quan. The cries are like weeping and complaining. It's touching. I wish I could put on a good show of a hero saving a girl on the spot. But King Quan dare not. He was also trembling as he watched this scene. It was as if he had seen some incomprehensible picture, and he was stunned. Damn it! Is this how the king of hell in the underworld drives out ghosts? If you hadn't told me, I would have thought that this little girl was the player, and that the hand behind her came from a terrifying ghost. You know how to exorcise ghosts. The version is at least 30 years ahead of the world. The trendy ones make me wonder if I have traveled through time. Thoughts in confusion. The little girl was dragged back. The opened closet door also closed again amidst the sinister laughter. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yubuletin Chigua. Chapter 953. For a long time, the movement in the closet stopped. Crunch. With a push of the door, Shen Jian walked out of the closet. There was a simple smile on his face like that of an old farmer during a good harvest. "Why are you standing so far away?" "Out of the closet." Shen Jian glanced at Wan Quan, who had his back pressed against the wall, feeling a little confused. "King Quan." "Gan. Brother, do you really not know, or are you pretending not to know? Don't you think that what you just did is more like a ghost than a ghost? People scare people to death, ghosts scare people to death. People scare ghosts, and ghosts scare people to death. Don't you think that your style of painting is any different from humans, players, or ghost masters? I almost called the police just now. I've figured out the title." Shocked, an adult dragged the little girl into the closet and did this. At this time, only then did Wan Quan remember. "When I learned that there was a great Holy Mother player in the Dragon Kingdom who liked to help players fight against ghosts in game copies without charging any compensation, I had personal experience and said that King of Yama has a weird temperament and sometimes behaves like this." Some hellish manipulation of the true meaning of the phrase. This is truly an underworld operation. Those who have not seen it with their own eyes cannot understand the meaning expressed in this sentence. It is already very implicit. The real scene is far more challenging to people's cognition than this. At that time, he even had the idea of saving this ghost-level little girl for a moment. One can imagine. What kind of shock did Shen Jian's operation bring to him? Moment. Wan Quan came to his senses. A forced smile appeared on the decadent and stubble-covered middle-aged face, and then he changed the subject and said, "Sir, just now, my ghost slave incarnation sent back a message simultaneously, saying that the time limit for the time-limited mission has been increased from 12 hours. Shortened to 1 hour, according to my guess, Tianlong is likely to choose to directly intervene in the mission. Now it has arrived from the south and should be here soon." Shen Jian looked as usual. "I don't think it's strange. The mission system permissions of the thriller game are controlled by the Buddha Kingdom. It is normal for the thriller game to favor the Buddha Kingdom, especially after knowing that he, a fake Buddhist, has intervened in the mission and interfered with the normal plot progress. The remedy for the thriller game is to offer players irresistible temptations or mandatory tasks, forcing players to enter the game and help the true Buddha get the ghost relics in a short period of time. Reducing the time to 1 hour is normal. And Shen Jian guessed that in addition, the thriller game should also provide 200% temptation, otherwise it would just be a failure of a limited time mission, and players may not join in. Think of this. The smile in Shen Jian's eyes did not reach his eyes. He glanced at the side quest displayed on the scarlet panel. Walk out of the house slowly. Originally, he planned to play through them one by one, but now this situation is obviously impossible. In this case, he will do it all at once. Then he conveniently snatched the golden jade pendant from the true Buddha's hand, walked into the ancestral hall as the winner, and got the ghost relics mentioned in the side quest. As long as the ghost relic is obtained, the mission progress will be completed by 50%. By then, he could then start to withdraw Luo Fengtian's authority from the 4th place, and strip it away bit by bit under Kasitagarba's nose. By the time Kasitagarba reacts, he will find that everything is already too late. Thinking, Shen Jian took long strides. 1 for each foot. Kicked open the doors of 9 other households. At once. It seemed to have caused a chain reaction. The fierce shadow illuminated by the white lantern was completely activated at this moment. Inside 9 houses, there are many ghosts. There is an unknown terrifying existence that is gradually resurrecting and showing its fangs. Just a few seconds. Inside one of the houses, scarlet eyes opened from the darkness, grabbed the edge of the door, and walked out. It was a mountain ghost that looked like a small mountain, carrying a small sand dune on its back. The quicksand was falling down little by little, and soon it covered the doorway. Where did this idiot come from? Didn't anyone tell him that even if he plays in a gym, he has to play from room to room? The buzzing sound was loud and eardrum shaking. That moment, the royal power seems to be suffocating. I just felt as if I was buried in the sand dunes, the air passing by bit, and finally submerged painfully into the sand, becoming a part of the yellow sand in the sky. At this time, the house next door, another cheerful ghost voice was grinning. Whatever, if it weren't for him, we don't know how long we would have to sleep before we were all awakened. A flying-headed ghost with the head of a Shura evil ghost stopped in mid-air, its teeth grinding loudly. Just listening to it makes people feel like their bodies are being chewed to pieces. Is he a destined match? No one has entered my house for a long time, I feel so resentful. A headless ghost with a tombstone on its head also crawled out, wailing loudly. In an instant, 9 families and 9 ghosts and gods all walked out of the house and cast their eyes on Shen Jian and Wang Quan one by one. First timing. King Quan felt a terrifying threat that no one could resist. His expression changed greatly. His entire face turned pale. All the souls of the dead are gone. Even more distraught. Damn it, you big guys like to bully the weak to show off your strength, right? I have a temper to show off to that man. What's the point of specifically trying to intimidate me? In this world, I am the only one who gets hurt after all. Only my wounded world, achieved. Wang Quan felt sad inside. Cold sweat broke out in waves. But he still held on, even though his feet were swaying, they didn't go soft. At this time, the headless ghost with a tombstone on his head raised his head and complained, "This kid broke the rules. According to the rules, we can just eat him, right?" Can. A disembodied voice came from someone who didn't know where it came from. Hear this. The 9 ghosts and gods grinned at the same time. The expression was exactly the same as ferocious. They are not good ghosts to begin with. Although they are waiting here for the right person, they are not willing to do so, but are being suppressed here. Therefore, they simply don't bother waiting for someone who is destined to be with them, and they are even less likely to be subdued. If anyone dares to come, they will only use 120% of their strength to eat anyone who steps here alive. Apparently, Shenjian is one of them. Boy, what else do you want to say? We have just woken up from a deep sleep and can give you a chance to speak. The mountain ghost buzzed. The other side. Shenjian also raised his head. His eyes narrowed. He showed a sinister smile similar to that of the 9 ghosts and gods. If I kill them now by playing games, will it count as passing? There seemed to be silence in the air for a moment. Can. Following this voice, Shenjian smiled even more wildly. His eyes fell on the 9 ghosts and gods. He smiled strangely and said, playing games, right? I happen to know a squid game suitable for groups to play outdoors. The name of the game is 123, Wooden Man. I will count to 123 later. All ghosts must stop or they will die. Finished. Shenjian gave the other party a chance to refute. Just turn around. Start counting seconds. He looked like he didn't take them seriously at all. This time, the ghosts were furious. Facing their 9 ghosts and gods, this kid turned his back to them. Where did he get his confidence? Where can I find the capital to play with all of them at once? And in the rules, they are the ones who make the game. When did it become an outsider's turn to be the host? This is not looking down on them, what else could it be? The flying-headed ghost was the first to rush forward. The ghost head is twisted. The other 8 ghosts and gods remained motionless, not because they abided by the rules of the game set by Shenjian, but because they felt it was unnecessary. 9 ghosts and gods appeared together, and they could temporarily resist the moves of the world-destroying ghosts and gods. That kid did not have such a privilege. Just thinking about it? The countdown ends. Shenjian turned around leisurely. Just in time to see a head close at hand, he unhurriedly pulled out a black sword and waved it casually. There was no glint of sword or shadow, and the flying-headed ghost was frozen in mid-air, cut into 108 pieces. Pieces of meat fell down. Instantly. The ghosts were horrified. It was unbelievable for a moment. I guess? Really dead? Is a ghost and god being killed just like chopping melons and vegetables? It's noisy. When did it become so easy to kill a ghost? Has the world outside progressed to this level? Then what are you doing here on horseback? The ghosts were shocked. The ghosts were confused. The faces of the ghosts changed drastically. Because they saw that Shenjian had turned around again. This means that the game will continue. Once someone is found moving, death will occur. For a while. This game, which was originally a bit childish, could even be said to be juvenile, became extremely terrifying after Shenjian killed a ghost and god with one sword. 3 seconds later, Shenjian continued to turn around. The corners of his mouth couldn't help but grin. I saw you moved. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shiyubuletin Chigwa. Chapter 954. When Shenjian turned around for the second time, the atmosphere at the scene became extremely solemn. The ghosts looked at each other. They all saw the fear and suspicion in each other's eyes. They wanted to know how Shenjian killed a ghost and god quietly. That extremely weird black sword? Obviously there was no leakage of yin qi, and there was not even the slightest supernatural fluctuation, but it mysteriously chopped the flying-headed ghost into 108 pieces. It seems. It was like a flying-headed ghost hit head-on with distinct sharp spider webs and was torn apart on the spot. Such a method is unpredictable. What's more important is that they were suppressed here and left to be subdued by those who were destined to conquer them. Even if they all recovered, they would not be able to step out of this building complex. This way. There's no way they can't help but participate in this terrifying Squid Game. The only good thing is that this game is very childish and young, and the rules of the game are also very simple. The concept of them passing the level is huge. The ghosts looked at it. At this time, Shen Jian had turned around for the second time, and the distance between them was only nearly 50 meters. Under the coverage of the ghost-level ghost realm, let alone 50 meters, even 500 meters is just a ghost realm movement, which happens in the blink of an eye. 3 seconds. In less than 2 seconds, they can touch Shen Jian's back and pick off the opponent's head to use as a ball. With this thought, an old ceramic ghost showed a sinister smile. The moment Shen Jian turned around, he unfolded the ghost realm and took one step out, reaching the back of Shen Jian's body for less than a second. Seeing Shen Jian still counting down the seconds with no defense, the old ceramic ghost smiled even more ferociously, and his claws were about to pierce the back of Shen Jian's head. The next second, he missed. It wasn't Shen Jian who was hiding. But the distance is not enough. Ceramic old ghost? He looked confused. He was clearly standing behind Shen Jian, only 20 or 30 centimeters away, but for some reason, his ghost claws could never touch Shen Jian. The distance of 20 or 30 centimeters seemed like a world away. It can't be reached. No matter how he tried, nothing worked. He was shocked. Are you humming cheating? And in front of everyone? How shameless. I thought it was a younger game, but I didn't expect that it was us who were younger. Just thinking about it. The old ceramic ghost suddenly realized that at some point, Shen Jian had finished counting the seconds and was looking at him with a smile. And his hand was still grabbing it subconsciously. Trying to touch Shen Jian. This time, he did touch Shen Jian, but it also violated the rules of the game. Ceramic old ghost. Wait, this isn't fair. The words are not finished yet. A crackling light of electricity erupted all over Shen Jian's body, and his whole body was wrapped in thunder. The old ceramic ghost touched Shen Jian's hand and became a conductor of thunder and lightning. In a burst of lightning and flint, the old ceramic ghost fell down with a plop. Burnt all over. It has changed beyond recognition. A terrible death. This moment, the field became completely silent. The ghosts began to swallow their saliva. I'm afraid this guy is not just a little bit strong. Killing 2 ghosts and gods in a row, leisurely and effortlessly, is not at all like the strength that one can possess at the same level. But if this guy is a world-destroying ghost and god, what is he doing here? This is obviously prepared for destined people at the level of ghosts and gods. There was no time for the ghosts to continue thinking. Shen Jian turned around again and started counting the seconds. No one of the remaining 7 ghosts and gods dared to move more. Just move more or less a step or two. After a few times, the ghosts seemed to have adapted to this rhythm and began to move more boldly. This time, Shen Jian turned around and glanced around. Carrying a 3-foot black sword, he came to the mountain ghost. The mountain ghost, who was carrying a small sand dune, had dilated pupils and was horrified. I didn't move. If you don't follow the rules of the game, even if you kill us, you won't pass. Shen Jian laughed and said, I know, but you are about to move. Wow. The quicksand on the dune fell bit by bit along the back. A small pyramid was built on the ground. Mountain ghost. His pupils shrank. Eyeballs will pop out. No. Does this count as riding on a horse? Why don't you just say that dandruff also counts? A dog is still your dog. Without giving the other party a chance to argue, Shen Jian shook his hands, and the sand dunes behind mountain ghost seemed to come to life. The quicksand rolled, becoming thicker and larger. In an instant, the mountain ghost's back was crushed and he was crushed to death under the sand dune. He sent him on his way using the supernatural means that the other party often used. He was really a kind person who knew the warmth and well-being of others. It would be unreasonable not to award him the award of top 10 outstanding people who touched the world of horror. Shen Jian thought so. Returning to the finish line very satisfied. What was different was that the remaining 6 ghosts and gods looked at Shen Jian's back with cold eyes. This devil actually used the supernatural means that the mountain ghost is most proud of to crush the opponent to death. This is so insulting to the ghost. Mountain ghosts would probably not be able to live peacefully under the 9 springs. What a villain with a bad personality. Next. The game still goes on. The remaining 6 ghosts and gods all saw that Shen Jian was not a good person. The desire to survive is overwhelming. Start taking this deadly death game more seriously. But he was soon killed by Shen Jian for various reasons. Only one ghost is as stable as an old dog. That's the headless ghost. Even if it was Shen Jian, he couldn't find any reason to kill the other party. Headless ghosts are very special. The lower body is a headless ghost, without a head. The upper body is that of a tombstone ghost, without a body. These 2 ghosts parasitize together and possess 2 supernatural powers at the same time, forming an extremely special existence. Shen Jian looked around. At this time, the field was full of corpses. Next to the body, there is a tombstone erected on the ground. There was no grave soil around, and the tombstone stood straight on the ground, motionless. This situation. A very bad person for Shen Jian. After all, the opponent turned directly into a tombstone, with no arms or legs, let alone movement. Even if he wanted to use the excuse of being eliminated after 3 games, it would not work. Because tombstones will still move. It just doesn't move much. It only takes 1 meter each time. Even if it's just that. It has almost reached the end point. Shen Jian sighed. Since he couldn't find any flaws in his actions, he could only start with attitude. Turn around again. Shen Jian came to the tombstone, squatted down, and said coldly, "Are you feeling moved in your heart? Tombstone or headless ghost?" Both ghosts were stunned. Damn it! Your uncle can't find any evidence that we moved, and you can't kill us, so you've already started making up nonsense. What does it mean that we are moved in our hearts? If you want to impose a crime, there is no need to hesitate. You bitch, you actually want to use such an outrageous reason for us. Stop being a ghost and be a human being. We share 800 ideas with you, and you have 801, but we still owe you one. For a while. Over tombstones. Yin energy surges and resentment piles up. One can imagine. How angry were the 2 of them. My back molars are almost broken. I can only hold on tight. Shen Jian curled his lips. Look, I just said this, why are you so impatient? It seems that I was right. You are really moved in your heart. As soon as these words came out, the 2 ghosts were so angry that their lungs were about to explode. If it weren't for his eyeballs, they would be staring out at this moment. What the hell are you? See if you are speaking human words. Being a ghost is really an injustice to you. You are simply worse than the wealthy man in front of my second uncle's grandson's granddaughter-in-law's house. I'll fight you, you're such a bully. The tombstone trembled, and the limbs of the headless ghost stretched out from the tombstone at this moment. With a hoarse voice of resentment, it struggled to grab Shen Jian. There is a posture of dying together. Shen Jian smiled. Weird smile. Haha, you are too hasty to say a few words. You are so mentally fragile. Besides, you finally made a move this time. Say it. Shen Jian carried the 3-foot ghost emperor sword fetus, achieved the goal of the headless ghost, cut off part of his head, and threw it into the sand dunes where the mountain ghost was crushed to death. As for other parts, they are included in the scope of broken arms and limbs. So far, the 10 families and 10 ghosts and gods who were the last steps in guarding the ancestral hall, and who were the targets of the future team of the true Buddha, were all caught on the spot. The state of death was so tragic. Anyone who saw it must not doubt that a murderer broke into the town, carried out a crazy massacre, and wiped out a large family here? Aside. Wang Quan, who tried hard to be a transparent person, was dumbfounded. Shivering. Elder brother. Although the names such as Hades, Underworld, and King of Hell are a little darker, they should also belong to the good guys lineup, right? Can you please stop acting like a devil when doing things? Sometimes. Wang Quan even thinks that he has actually joined the lineup of villains. Wait, the fake Buddha seems to be playing the role of the villain in the plot. The thought of this. Wang Quan's whole person was in bad shape. Numb. In his imagination, after Shen Jian learned the plot in advance, he should have followed the path of a true Buddhist. Subduing these ghosts and gods and becoming his own team was the correct but normal choice. But obviously, this Hell King chose an incorrect and even more abnormal path. He even felt that in the previous reincarnations described by Tianlong, although the fake Buddha was the ultimate villain, he was identified as a villain just because he was against the protagonist, not a real villain or a loser. Do your best. But now, he felt that Shen Jian was more in line with the ultimate villain than the original fake Buddha, and more in line with the setting of a villain who refrains from all evil and has no conscience. People are more evil than ghosts, who can he ask to reason with? Thinking. Shen Jian's voice rose. I passed the level. Where is the reward I deserve for passing the level? For a long time, there was no response from the complex. Are you shy? Shen Jian said casually. His eyes turned to the 10 houses in the house leisurely. In an instant, the white lanterns in front of 10 houses were extinguished. Wang Quan saw a dark figure hidden under the white candlelight quickly escaping from the building complex. It was like there was some savage beast behind him. Wang Quan couldn't help but take a breath, making a small contribution to the warming of the town. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he would never have believed that someone could scare away a mysterious gatekeeper ghost that could restrain 10 ghosts and gods. It can be regarded as a desperate escape. Sir, the jade pendant fragment should be on this ghost, why don't you chase it? Wang Quan asked cautiously. He was afraid that if Shen Jian was happy, he would also play a death game for him. Haha, he is thinking of me, where can he escape? Shen Jian laughed, and his pupils had already turned into deep whirlpools. The other side. The candlelight ghost figure emerged from the darkness. He is formless and does not exist in this world. As long as there is a white candlelight, he can manifest. Even if he is killed, he can still be reflected with the help of white candlelight. In layman's terms, he is an idealistic existence. Unkillable and unkillable. But, at this moment, he was afraid. He was already frightened after fully observing Shen Jian's massacre, but Shen Jian suddenly saw his real identity. In panic, he broke the agreement. He directly escaped from the area he was guarding. My mind couldn't calm down for a long time. He wanted to go back, but he didn't dare. He could only escape to a remote corner thousands of miles away to avoid this devil. Moment. No one was chasing him, and there was nothing unusual around him. The candle ghost breathed a sigh of relief. He has no body, but he can use places with white light to imprint his own shadow and talk to people. At this time, he took out a fragment of a golden jade pendant with only one corner from his body. According to the agreement, he only needed to wait until the destined person won the token in his hand, and then he would be free. But now, the destined person did not wait, but instead waited for an evil ghost. What's this thing? No one told him that there would be such a cruel being who wanted the fragments of the golden jade pendant in his hand. Just thinking about it? A voice suddenly sounded. He, so you are here. At once. The candlelight ghost is like being struck by lightning. He looked stiffly, his pale pupils widening. I saw a pair of deep eyes in his shadow that had opened at some point, staring straight at him with a faint and somewhat playful gaze. He wants to control. I want to disperse the shadow and return to the state of candlelight. But he found that he could do nothing but watch. Then. There were ripples in his shadow. A hand stretched out, held his shadow open, and slowly climbed up. That scene. How terrifying. It can scare people to death. Appear. The candlelight ghost was also frightened. He watched a figure stand up in front of him. That look was clearly that of the devil who had slaughtered 10 ghosts and gods. Ah. End of chapter. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shiyubuletin Chigwa. Chapter 955. Seeing Shen Jian coming back with the candle ghost, Wan Quan couldn't help but take a look. Good guy. I was stunned. He was being brought back by the scruff of his neck. Among all the ghosts and gods, it can be regarded as the most undignified death. Sir, what have you done? Scared a ghost to death? No reason. King Quan asked curiously. He can be considered an old man in the horror world and has seen a lot, but he has never seen a ghost being frightened and falling into a deep sleep. Not to mention, this is still a ghost. He couldn't imagine what he would have to do to scare a ghost whose psychological endurance was already stronger than that of a human being into unconsciousness. Shen Jian flicked it casually. His eyes were full of disgust. Didn't I just push his body open with my hands and stand up directly? This guy was actually frightened and fainted. His mental quality is not good. He is just like the group of ghosts just now, they are all flowers in the greenhouse. Hear the words. Wan Quan opened his mouth wide enough to stuff an egg. Even though he was mentally prepared, he still felt a chill when he heard Shen Jian's words. This operation is too hellish. He could fully imagine the mood of the candlelight ghost as he watched his body being stretched open little by little, and then a devil crawled out. It was indeed extremely horrifying. Without psychological preparedness, it is perfectly normal to be frightened to death on the spot. When it comes to scaring ghosts, I think you have figured it out in the underworld. If it is folded in your hands, then it is destined to be like this. Consider yourself unlucky. Thinking. Wan Quan looked at Shen Jian again. I found that the other party had put together the other half of the golden jade pendant. Although it was still incomplete, it could be seen that there were still 2 small pieces missing. Complete these 2 small pieces to form half of a complete jade pendant. Add the other half in the hands of the true Buddha to form a complete golden jade pendant. This is the medium that opens the door of the ancestral hall. How's the situation? After looking at it for a few times, Shen Jian said coldly. Wan Quan immediately explained, 2 days ago, the true Buddha walked in the west direction. Because there was no divination by the ghost mirror, and he was not promoted to ghosts and gods, it was very difficult for the true Buddha to go through the 100th reincarnation. But Tianlong has barely made up for the role of the ghost mirror, and counting the time, the true Buddha should now pass the examination in the west and get the first fragment of the jade pendant. As for the south piece, Tianlong has led the players to get it in advance, and is rushing to the east, preparing to take the east piece, and finally find a way to give it to the true Buddha. Speaking of which, his eyes couldn't help but look weird. Because judging from the current situation, whether it is the fake Buddha who is the final villain of the plot, or the Tianlong who has the memory of 5 reincarnations, they promote the plot far more than the protagonist of this reincarnation. Needless to say, Shen Jian, a fake Buddhist, not only took the jade pendant fragments from the hands of the East Gatekeeper, but also took away all the task ghosts guarding the last level of the Ancestral Hall at once, including those who acted as referees. Tianlong also has great strength and speed. It only took less than 20 minutes to successfully pass the test of the Southern Gatekeeper, take one of the jade pendant fragments, and now point the sword at the East Gatekeeper, looking full of confidence. On the other hand, it took the protagonist, the true Buddha, nearly 2 days to pass the test of the Gatekeeper ghost in the West. Without Tianlong's reminder, the true Buddha, whose terrifying level is only the top Ghost King, would probably have died in this small town. Such a comparison. The difference was immediately apparent. If the protagonist of the plot is not a true Buddhist, even Thriller Game has openly admitted that he almost thought that Tianlong who took the rebirth copy was the protagonist of the copy here. Hear the words. Shen Jian raised his eyebrows. Look at it this way. There are no more levels to conquer. All the jade pendant fragments are in the hands of their 3 parties. He just had to grab it. But you have to be particular about robbing. At least for now, it is not appropriate for him to be exposed to the true Buddha on the spot. Let alone let the other party know that he is the mastermind behind his opportunity. Otherwise, no one can predict whether Ksatigarba will notice the anomaly in advance and prevent him from reclaiming Luo Fengtian's authority. This is what he doesn't want to see. If the Lord of Luo Fengtian wants to destroy Luo Fengtian, it will be easy. He cannot allow his own inheritance to be trampled and destroyed wantonly. Even if he can kill the real culprit, he will not be able to make up for the damage caused by Luo Fengtian's brokenness. A series of impacts. What he wants is to withdraw most of Luo Fengtian's authority without Ksatigarba being aware of it, at least until Ksatigarba has no means of defeating the enemy, before he has the opportunity to liquidate the other party. At the moment, he has completed the first half. As long as he gets the ghost relics and grabs the certificate that the true Buddhist disciple can prove his identity as a Buddhist disciple, the progress of the mission will jump to 50%. By then, he can then start to remove Luo Fengtian's authority. And this day, right now, the other side. A group of players headed by Tianlong has arrived at the location in the East Lane. They glanced at the time on the scarlet panel. Countdown, 41:00. There are 41 minutes left, is it really too late? One player asked. There was some worry in his tone. It was not only uneasiness and hesitation about the way forward, but also worry about whether they could get the other half of the jade pendant in the remaining 41 minutes. Enough. Tianlong raised his voice, raising his voice several dozen decibels, and gave everyone a powerful injection. According to the route, the true Buddha will arrive at the core test place. When we get out of here, we have already won 2 games, so winning 3 games won't be a big problem. By then, we only need to hand over the 2 collected jade pendant fragments to him, and the task will be completed. Hear this. All the players have different expressions. They still had no idea how to hand over the collected jade pendant fragments to the true Buddha without involving cause and effect. Mainly because the time is too short. Just running tasks makes them physically and mentally exhausted, let alone taking care of other things. And who will hand it over is also an important point. They have not forgotten that there is only one reward for the limited time mission. Who can get the ghost level supernatural weapon basically depends on who acts as the good guy who gives away the jade pendant fragments in front of the true Buddha. No one wants to miss this opportunity. This is the reason why all players are following closely. Everyone has a tendency to pick up holes. To this, Tianlong, as if he didn't know, the face that always maintained a fake smile was more serious than ever at this moment, staring at the alley in front of him. There is a mirror ghost here. Once he steps into the alley, he will lose all supernatural means and return to a normal human being. Although the mirror ghost cannot use supernatural powers, it has ghost level yin energy. It can be said that under normal circumstances, let alone us, even true Buddhist disciples cannot pass. But in the last life, I was with the true Buddha, and I saw with my own eyes that through the divination of the ghost mirror, he figured out the only way to survive, which was to poke his eyes and ears, sew his mouth, and transform himself into a human being. Become a cripple. Mirror ghost will imitate everyone, and the appearance he imitates will be completely reproduced. To kill people, he needs to use his eyes, ears, and mouth to induce us to kill each other. But as long as we become disabled, mirror ghost will 80% of the time let us pass on the spot, and 20% will continue to be unyielding, but with all 5 senses disabled, no matter how the mirror ghost induces it, it will have no effect on us. As soon as these words came out, everyone's expressions changed drastically. The price of poking out both eyes and ears and sewing up the mouth is too high. For a real ghost, this price is naturally bearable. But they are human. Although he is a demon master, he is still essentially a human being. Once you do this, unless you find the corresponding ghost puzzle and control it, or the ghost puzzle you control includes these parts, you will be really disabled. If we can't get the last ghost level supernatural weapon, it will undoubtedly be a waste of time and a huge loss. For a while, many players hesitated. Among them, there are more or less parts of the ghost puzzle that they control are missing. Unless they prepare in advance, how can they just control these parts of the ghost organs? Think of this. Everyone looked at Tianlong. Seeing the unworried look in the other person's eyes, they instantly understood that the others had come prepared and they were only getting on the bus temporarily. Can't compare. However, at this time, a player suddenly said, "Is the mirror ghost hiding? Why does my supernatural reaction tell me that there is nothing at the end of this alleyway? What?" Hear the words. The players were all stunned. Even Tianlong was no exception, his brows were full of confusion. Mirror ghost isn't here? How can this be? Mirror ghost will be one of the subordinates that the true Buddha subdues in the future. At this moment, as agreed, he is guarding the East Alley, waiting for the arrival of the destined person. How could he not be here? Soon. 2 more players used detection-type supernatural powers. They also spoke one after another, unless this mirror ghost is hidden in multiple ghost realms, so that we can't detect any supernatural reactions at all, our conclusion is the same. The mirror ghost is not there, not only the mirror ghost, but there are no supernatural reactions at all around it, it's not like a special supernatural environment has been set up. Hear this. Tianlong was confused. Other players were also stunned. Messy again? Hey, why do they say again? I always feel that this plot seems a bit familiar. Not long after, one player tentatively took a half step and then stepped directly in. There is no ghost realm, and the ghost puzzle in the body is also there. There is nothing here at all. Hear this conclusion. Other players also walked in one by one. A look of surprise. Along the way, they all listened to Tianlong telling him that the alleys to the east were very dangerous. They never thought of the scene and had no abnormal reaction at all. Subsequently, the players followed the alleyway and went deeper. Tianlong followed with a confused expression. In order to prevent confusion in his memory, he even went to the alley next door to take a look. That's right. This is it. Where's the mirror ghost? Why the hell is this gone? Who can tell him what happened? The gatekeeper ghost in the south is clearly the same as in previous lives, and the gatekeeper in the west is pretty much the same. Why is there a problem when it's the east's turn? Just thinking about it? There were exclamations one after another. He went to take a look. At one of the corners of the alleyway, a large piece of blackened burn marks came into view. Besides, there was a pile of black waste on the charred ground. It seemed like someone was burning paper here and didn't take away the waste. At once, Tianlong's heart thumped. Other players thought of this too. He gasped and said, "Damn it, isn't this horse riding the remains of the mirror ghost? Hiss, it's really humming possible. Who did this? Someone was one step ahead of us and came in front of the gang mirror ghost. You're a cowhide, I'll kill you when the ghosts and gods say." All the players say something to each other, and I say something to you. The idea was soon unified. This is the work of the ancient and mysterious existence mentioned in the limited time mission. The other party's purpose seems to be for the jade pendant fragments. And, judging from the tragic situation of the mirror ghost being burned to death, this unknown mysterious existence is very cruel and violent, and its behavior is very bad. Not a good person. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Buletin Chigua. Chapter 956. Something is wrong. This was all so wrong. All the plot directions he knew were out of whack. Tianlong walked out of the east lane, with these words echoing in his mind. He and Tianyang looked at each other vaguely, and both saw the confusion in the other's eyes. According to the normal plot direction, this is the time point for the true Buddhist to show his personal strength, conquer the ghosts and gods in the ghost town, and gain his own team. He remembered very clearly that in his previous life, with the help of ghost-level strength and divination, it took the true Buddha less than 3 days to completely conquer the 4 gatekeeper ghosts, and together with the 10 evil spirits who were suppressed in the core area. Most of the ghosts were persuaded by the protagonist and became his main force in fighting for the true Buddha temple. But now, because an unknown mysterious existence accidentally broke into the ghost town, the thriller game directly chose to release a limited time mission and compress the time to 1 hour. Now it seems that the meaning of the thriller game is very obvious. Just tell them directly that the target of this mysterious existence is also the jade pendant fragment. Unfortunately, they were still one step late. The gatekeeper ghost on the east side has been captured, and the jade pendant fragment in his hand has also been taken away. As a result, the ghost town and his party will face huge changes. What was originally just a home venue for the protagonist's solo show has turned into a competition. The only consolation is that he knows that the true Buddha is the real owner of the ghost relic. But if you can't get the ghost relic in the end, what's the use even if the true Buddha is its owner? Think of this. He was distraught. The thoughts in my mind are extremely confusing. There was a hint of irritability on his face. He really couldn't understand why there was such a big change in the good plot. Tianlong reviewed it. A most fatal flaw was soon discovered. He missed someone. That is the 100th player who dares to take the initiative to open the 9-star dungeon. This player has never appeared. I don't know its appearance, I don't know its name, and I don't know its location. There are 3 people without people. But what if this player joins the fake Buddha side and leaks the plot direction to the fake Buddha? Will this happen? At once. Tianlong, there was a storm in his mind. The more I think about it, it feels more and more reasonable. Although he was a little skeptical about the fact that this player could directly come into contact with fake Buddhist disciples when he first came to the Buddhist kingdom, at the moment, only this possibility would lead to such a big change in the plot. His eyes were dark. Teeth clenched. It was his mistake. Never thought this would happen. In the future, he will never reveal the slightest hint of the plot direction in the chat interface. Just thinking about it, all the players have stopped. Tianlong also paused. Enter the eyes. It is a group of low buildings. The ground in the distance was covered with blood, warm, fresh, and smelly, as if it had just experienced a massacre. Not far away, 10 houses are open. The white lantern that was supposed to be on has been extinguished at some point. Everything seemed different from the last time he came. Tianlong was speechless for a while. Mad. There has been a change here. His ability to foresee things will not capsize here. He doesn't want to become a sunfish. At this time, a figure not far away attracted his attention and attracted the attention of many players. That is a true Buddhist. The other person had a resolute face, his head lowered, leaning against the wall, as if waiting for something. Tianlong? He was stunned. Eyelids twitching. Almost cursed. Damn it! What are you doing standing here? Go play the game, win the game, and get the last jade pendant fragment. A bad thought came into his mind. He took another look at the 10 houses that had been opened, and the look of surprise on his face deepened. Could it be that even the game was different? If so, without foresight, he was just an ordinary 5-star player. Although he had the strength to fight against the top Ghost King for a short time, this strength was of no use in the place where all ghosts and gods were tested. Perhaps the players' gazes were too naked. Wang Hao, Ksitigarba's 103 incarnation, also noticed the players who came here. His brows were slightly furrowed and his eyes were fixed on Tianlong in particular. He still remembered that 2 days ago, it was this person who told him a lot of information about ghost towns, allowing him to pass the test of the ghost gatekeepers in the West. I thought they were the natives of a ghost town. I never thought that I would meet here this group of people. Are you here to snatch the jade pendant fragments too? Wang Hao's ghostly eyes flashed with a faint light. The golden jade pendant is related to the mystery of his life experience, and he cannot give in. What's more, judging from the terrifying level of the gatekeeper ghost in the West, he can also vaguely see that his life experience is not simple, and his background is at least 7 stars or above. Of supernatural places. If he can successfully recognize his relatives, not only helping the Lin family survive the crisis, it can at least delay the destruction of the Lin family. Therefore, he is bound to win the fight for the jade pendant fragments. Seemingly seeing Wang Hao's thoughts, Tianlong's scalp went numb. If not necessary. He really didn't want to hang out in front of a true Buddhist. That can kill people. But now, there is still opportunity for redress. Mere competitors are not included in the scope of strong causation. There is no need to worry about being remembered and facing reckoning in the future. At this time, another figure came from a distance. The figure's face couldn't be seen clearly. It could only be seen from the fabric of the clothes that the figure was also a dainty ghost. Through the blurred face, it seemed that he could vaguely see a decadent face. The temperament is somewhat similar to Wang Quan, the number 1 person in the Dragon Kingdom supernatural circle in their team. King Quan. The corners of his mouth twitched slightly. This horse riding is really me. And my current identity is what horror games call an ancient and mysterious existence. Apparently, a group of players led by Tianlong also think so. The true form of King Quan has been regarded as the variable that broke into the ghost town. A lot of inquiring eyes were stretched out. But he couldn't see the other person's face clearly. And for fear of being noticed, he didn't dare to be too high profile. At this time, a faint voice rang out. Very good, we are all here, then the game officially begins. Accompanied by sound. A ghost figure climbed out of the darkness out of thin air. On the ghost shadow, a pair of glowing eyes were shining, as if they were smiling strangely. The sound was quiet, like the howling wind of hell. Just once. It attracted everyone's attention. It was Shen Jian. In other words, it was the ghost and ghost that Shen Jian controlled in the beginning. Etc. At this time, Tianlong panicked. Because everything is really different. This is a big joke. He had to struggle. Can I choose the owners of these 10 houses to participate in the game? Said. Tianlong pointed to the open door and made a final attempt. Shen Jian glanced at it. He said casually, They are on their annual vacation. Zheng and Mai Mei are piled together. Are you going to disturb them? Tianlong. Goddamn annual leave. Aren't the ghosts in the ghost town guarding here 365 days a year? Damn, since when did we get such a humane thing as annual leave? It's too much of a violation. If you take annual leave, then we will lose our lives here. Do you still have any questions? If not, let's officially start. The name of the game is Cat Catch Mouse. You play the cat and you are the mice. If you are not caught within 30 minutes, you will pass the level. The scope of activities includes the entire ghost town. Shenjian pointed casually. Kingship is a cat. The true Buddha and all the players are mice. The cat catches the mouse and the mouse hides from the cat. Even a fool can understand such a simple rule. This time, it actually made Tianlong a little stunned. But think about it. There seems to be no problem. In the last life, he had not heard that the gatekeeper ghost in the core place could not initiate games, and the image of the other party was always a shadow, just one white and one black. Overall, everything looked very normal. There is no violation at all. Then, think briefly. He believed it too. This game is not difficult. The difficulty lies in how to avoid the perception of the unknown existence of King Quan, but it is not too difficult with the presence of a true Buddha. It's easy to make it through 30 minutes. Only. What about time-limited tasks? There are still 35 minutes left before the settlement of the limited time task. 30 minutes for one task is definitely not enough time. Just at this time, Shenjian spoke again. He reached out and took out a piece of jade pendant, standing out of thin air. Then he talked eloquently. I know your goal is this, and we have been waiting for the right person, so I won't embarrass you. Win or lose is determined by a game, and whoever wins will get the complete token. Enter the ancestral hall. Now, take out all the fragments of your jade pendant, and let me serve as a witness, waiting for the destined person to appear. Hear this. Everyone was stunned. Wang Hao, the true Buddhist disciple, frowned. He has the most jade pendant fragments, and if he takes them all out, he will suffer the most. But when he thought that after winning, he could easily obtain the complete golden jade pendant, find out the mystery of his life experience, successfully recognize his ancestors, and achieve a class jump. Again, he was almost certain that this destined person was him. In other words, the ghost in front of me is one of my own. As long as he takes out the other half of the complete companion jade pendant, the other party will be convinced that he is the one destined for him, and naturally he will not harm him. Think of this. Wang Hao, the true Buddhist disciple, did not hesitate and also took out half of the jade pendant fragments on his body. Wang Quan also took out a small piece that Shenjian handed him. See this. Although there was confusion on Tianlong's face, he took it out obediently. For a while, the messy jade pendant fragments seemed to be pulled together to form a complete golden jade pendant. It exudes a special supernatural wave. I took a few glances. The true Buddha turned around and ran out of here. So do the players. The golden jade pendant is the reward. The premise of the reward is that they first pass the next cat and mouse game. Soon, only the royal power and ghosts are left in the low-rise buildings. The ghost grabbed the golden jade pendant. Shenjian's figure also floated up from the shadow. His face was full of excitement. Golden jade pendant, got it? Royal power, 9,999. Please take my knee. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yubuletin Chigua. Chapter 957. Looking at the golden jade pendant in Shen Jian's hand, Wang Quan was shocked. I almost knelt down. He didn't expect that Shen Jian would get the complete jade pendant fragment so easily, and the whole process was so harmonious that no one had any objections and everyone handed it over willingly. For a while, he remembered what Shen Jian said at that time. There is no need to grab it, the other party will bring it to you. Now, he knew the value of this sentence. By pretending to be a gatekeeper, he guided the protagonist, true Buddha, to willingly hand over his companion jade pendant. He also made Tianlong, who calls himself a prophet and is familiar with all plot trends, unable to notice anything unusual and flip-flops the jade pendant in his hand. The fragments were also handed over. In order to make the scene more realistic, he was also pushed out to act as the ancient and mysterious existence. With this detail, he successfully fooled all the two groups on the field. This is outrageous. When others enter the dungeon, they are playing tricks on ghosts, but when you enter the dungeon, you are playing tricks on ghosts. You are still the typical person who overturns the chess game and becomes the chess player yourself. The current king of hell is having too much fun. If I had the idea of turning my back on guests, I wouldn't be a 5-star player now. They are all knowledge points. Wang Quan looked at Shen Jian with awe and admiration. Although the Lord of Hell in front of him is cruel and bad, his methods are more like ghosts than ghosts, and his spirit seems to be a little wrong, but, no one can deny that when it comes to completing the task, the other party has always stayed close to the theme and has never deviated from it in the slightest. Sir, I'm afraid this won't be hidden for long. Although these two groups are playing games, their senses are always paying attention to this place. Opening the ancestral hall will inevitably cause huge noises. Wang Quan said. He knew that Shen Jian didn't want the real Buddha and the players to know that the person who cut off the beard was a fake Buddhist, so he deliberately blurred his face. But once the ancestral hall is opened, even a fool should know that the ghost who just started the game is fake. It's someone else pretending. By then, all suspicious eyes will fall on fake Buddhists. Shen Jian was in a good mood, waved his hands nonchalantly, and said a few more words. Having obtained the ghost relics, half of the task has been completed. Even if something is noticed, as long as I am not caught on the spot, I am innocent. King Quan. That's right. But your metaphor is somewhat outrageous. Not caught red-handed equals I am innocent? Ah, this. Is this the custom in the underworld? It's somewhat of a moral depression. Just thinking about it. Shen Jian had already arrived in front of the ancestral hall with the golden jade pendant. Swing it into the groove. Instantly, a supernatural wave swept through the entire place. The terrifying supernatural wave spread in ripples like ocean waves. It suddenly attracted the attention of the entire ghost town residents. Among them are also the true Buddha and the celestial dragon. One of the two parties was heading west, the other was heading east. They were far apart, and they were both preparing to hide in the place closest to the outskirts of the ghost town. After all, cat is just a person. Being so far apart, even if the cat could detect their supernatural fluctuations, it would be impossible to catch them all in a short time. As long as it lasts 30 minutes, they will win. What's more, Tianlong has other thoughts. At the moment, the golden jade pendant was gathered in advance, and he no longer needed to find a reason to give away the jade pendant fragments in his hand. He only had to take the initiative to go out at the last moment of the game and be caught by the cat. The winner would be the real one. Buddha. It also saved him the time of making up excuses. It can be said that it kills two birds with one stone. However, right now, the two people, who were far apart from each other, suddenly woke up. Their eyes fell in the direction of the invisible ancestral hall, and their expressions changed drastically. Damn it, I was fooled. Voices of shock and anger sounded at the same time. The true Buddhist disciple was angry and annoyed, so he immediately changed direction and returned to the ancestral hall. Tianlong also turned dark and clenched his back molars. Can't go wrong. The supernatural reaction just now was exactly what happened when the ancestral hall was opened. The game has yet to be decided. However, the ancestral hall was opened, which seems to be related to the ghost who initiated the game. Coupled with his understanding of the image of the candlelight ghost in the previous life, he was suddenly shocked. Someone had captured the candlelight ghost in advance and pretended to be the other person in order to defraud them of the jade pendant fragments. Apparently, the other party succeeded. Throw them around. And this pretender is undoubtedly the ancient and mysterious existence mentioned by the horror game. Mad. Your ancient and mysterious nature is reflected in the aspect of being an old cunt, right? You really deserve to die. If you had robbed it openly, then I would only think that I was not strong enough to hold this thing, and I would not feel sorry for giving up. But you piece of shit, you actually robbed it openly through cheating. A mouthful of old blood almost spurted out. Even if you die in the middle of the night, I would sit up and slap myself, feeling resentful. Think of this. He also chose to return while cursing. He wanted to know who this hanging man was. To be so shameless. On the road. Players don't know why. What does the supernatural fluctuation just now mean? Someone asked and looked at Tianlong. Tianlong said with a black face and gritted teeth, the door of the ancestral hall was opened. It was the ghost who initiated the game. He is the unknown existence mentioned in the horror game. He tricked all of us. As soon as these words came out, the players were shocked. I quickly figured out the process. After all, this method is not very clever. It was only because they didn't know who the gatekeeper in the core place was that they were able to succeed. If one of them could figure out that the ghost was not a gatekeeper, this extremely simple plan would have failed. At this time, the incarnation of royal power, who has been silent since he came in, said coldly, "We failed. It will take at least 10 minutes to return to the ancestral hall from this position, and a true Buddhist disciple will also need more than 3 minutes. 3 minutes is enough for the other party to empty the entire ancestral hall." Tianlong was silent for a few moments. Then he sneered and said, "We failed, but the other party also failed. The most important thing in the ghost town is the ghost relics in the ancestral hall. That is the key for the true Buddha to return to the true Buddha temple. Without this, even if the true Buddha successfully recognizes his relatives, the status will not be higher than that of the false Buddha, just one step behind, step by step. Because of this, the ghost relics are said to recognize the owner. Except for the true Buddha, others cannot take it as their own even if they take it. You know the spirit of the weapon, the recognition of the ghost relic is equivalent to being recognized by the spirit of the weapon, and except for the protagonist who has been reincarnated for hundreds of lives, no one can be recognized by the ghost relic. If you want to steal the ghost relics, you have to see if he has the capital. The other side. Shen Jian had already pushed open the door of the ancestral hall. What comes into view is an ordinary temple. The temple has a Buddhist hall. Shen Jian walked into it, eyes wandering. Soon I saw the relics placed on the palm of the Buddha statue. It is golden in color. Round. There are 2 words engraved on the body surface. Wang Hao. Shen Jian read it out. Apparently, the owner of the ghost relic has already been decided. To this, Shen Jian didn't care. He held the ghost relic in his hand. Listen to the message that King Quan just sent simultaneously. A flash of surprise flashed in his eyes. Item spirit. He was indeed a little surprised. He originally thought that this ghost relic should contain some of Ksitagarba's mighty power. He could just use this mighty power to judge the level of Ksitagarba's strength. He never thought that it turned out to be the so-called weapon spirit. That is the consciousness possessed by the ghost relic itself. At this point, it's just like parchment. Think about it. Shen Jian casually tapped the ghost relic in his hand and said, "Give me a smile." The ghost relic seemed to move. Shen Jian couldn't stop saying this. "Why the hell do you think I'm a singer? Can you show me some respect? If you don't smile, I will throw you into the cesspit." Shen Jian added another sentence. "Even though I'm not a human, you are a humming dog." The next second, the ghost relic really turned around. A cas-ocked monk with a shaved head appeared in Shen Jian's memory. It did not appear in reality or appear as a shadow, but appeared naked in Shen Jian's memory. He is also disembodied. Like the candlelight ghost, it is an idealistic existence. It will only appear in other people's memories. Donor, you, pretend to be a devotee of Buddha. The monk in cas-ox fluttered his sleeves and stared with dark ghost eyes, counting Shen Jian's sins just now. Shen Jian said impatiently, "Just tell me what use you have, or I will really throw you into the cesspool." The monk in cassock choked. Pointing at Shen Jian, he looked angrily saying, "You are disgracing gentlemen." But under Shen Jian's dangerous look, he flinched. He said in a weak tone, "You are not the destined person I am waiting for. If you still have the self-consciousness that a Buddhist devotee should have, you should not force me to accept you. This is greed and anger. The implication is, get out of here, you are not my master and you are not worthy of using me." Shen Jian is not annoyed either. He said unhurriedly, "I don't know whether the twisted melon is sweet or not, but as long as you twist it off, even if it just quenches your thirst, I'll be happy." Monk in cassock. "You kid, you don't have enough oil and salt, right? That being the case, then I'll give in for now." The monk in cassock has no idle baggage, he is just a prop. Although the real owner is Wang Hao engraved on the ghost relic, he has no ability to protect himself. If he angers the soul who wants to pick melons to quench his thirst, he was afraid that the other party would really throw him into the pit. By then, even if his chastity is still there, his master will probably dislike him. Think of this. The monk in cassock softened his tone and peeked into Shen Jian's memory, wanting to know the details of the other party. "This donor, since you have obtained the ghost relic, I will give you some pointers." Shen Jian was startled. Etc. Could this guy be the golden-fingered grandpa of the protagonist? This quesadilla is not kind. Goldfinger wholesale delivery, right? A fortune teller is itself a little golden finger. Reading the voice of one's heart is one of the most unbelievable types among golden finger. Now here comes another ring grandfather. Okay, stack the buffs like this, right? Let alone a human being, even a pig can soar into the sky with the help of so many golden fingers. Without. What would you point out? The monk in cassock said proudly, "Everything." He does not generalize types. Instead, he said everything. This made Shen Jian feel surprised. Subsequently, "Think about it?" Shen Jian asked, "Have you ever turned your back on all sentient beings and dictated the eternal cultivation method?" Monk in cassock. The pride on his face suddenly froze. Yu looked at Shen Jian. It seems to be saying, if I had this kind of cultivation method, would I still compromise with you? Will he still be trapped in the ghost relic and can only be manifested in the form of memory? Aren't you making a fuss? That little one, crushing the planet with your bare hands, one bite at a time. The monk in cassock was shocked. Damn it, it's a little bit inferior. Are ghosts now so whimsical? The planet is so cute, why do you want to eat it? Will crushing a planet do you any good? If I really knew how to do this, I would want to crush you right now. For a while, he became even more stooped. Weakly said, "No, there is no such method." Shen Jian frowned. His eyes were filled with contempt. As if to say, not even this? So what did your dog bark just now? The monk in cassock had a toothache. Grandma, you have read too many ghost stories. Can you tell me some requests that normal ghosts can think of? I suspect you are playing tricks on me. Although there is no evidence, I just think you are teasing me. Then his eyes became more resentful. Shen Jian also curled his lips. I don't have the ability to talk big words. Let's do this. I won't make any excessive demands. Just tell me how to destroy the Buddhist kingdom. No way, you can't even give me advice on such a simple request, right? Then what's the use of you? You might as well kill yourself to save others from knowing that I once got such a useless prop. The disgust in Shen Jian's eyes was undisguised. The sarcasm goes straight to the opponent's heart. He is very familiar with how to poke holes in the opponent's areas of expertise. Practiced many times. It is true that evil words hurt ghosts. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yubuletin Chigua. Chapter 958. Facing Shen Jian's overt and covert ridicule, the monk in cassock exploded with anger. I feel like my character has been seriously insulted. As an idealistic consciousness with a long history, witnessing the birth of the Buddhist kingdom, entrusted with important responsibilities, and immortality, he had never suffered such a blow that hit his heart. If it were an ordinary person, he would have already gone upstream along the other party's sea of memory to destroy his consciousness, causing him to completely lose his memory and turn into an idiot with an adult body, memory, and IQ like a half-year-old ghost baby. But it's a pity. This arrogant villain's memory is so stable that he can't even fiddle with it, let alone destroy the other person's memory. This is also the real reason why he dares to be angry but dare not speak out. Mad. You can't fight head-on. Even if you want to threaten, you can't do it. The opponent can also suppress his body into the pit at any time. Who doesn't feel aggrieved when he comes? He was not crazy, he was already reciting the great compassion mantra in his heart. Now he really wanted to have a knife by his side to kill this evil thief. Immediately. He no longer leaves questions to Shen Jian. Instead, he blushed and said, I have 4 main methods here: supernatural power, ghost weapons, sword skills, and Buddhist golden bodies. You choose one, and I will teach you. You will be the first to get my reward. Shen Jian became slightly interested. I understand in my heart. Sure enough, he is the ring grandfather type. The plot arranged by Ksitagarba has indeed arranged every aspect. In terms of resources, if you have the support of the fake Buddha in the early stage, and return to the true Buddhist temple in the later stage, there will be no shortage of resources. In terms of manpower, according to the clues given by the accompanying jade pendants, they entered the ghost town and subdued more than 10 ghosts and gods, which instantly laid the foundation for at least a 7-star supernatural land. In terms of supernatural beings, it is not enough to have auxiliary means such as divination of good and bad luck and reading the voices of people. You also need to have combat supernatural powers to fight against people. At this time, the benefits of Grandpa Ring are revealed. Supernatural powers, ghost weapons, sword skills, and Buddhist golden bodies are all methods that can be used to engage in supernatural confrontation and increase strength. A non-heir like him could only choose one. The protagonist can learn them all. After this operation, no matter how low the reincarnation status of the true Buddha is, it can reach full strength at once and become no less than or even better than the fake Buddha. Shen Jian clicked his tongue. Tell me one by one. Seeing Shen Jian finally show his interested eyes, the monk in cassock burst into tears. Finally. This dog has finally understood his greatness. You can't pick the strongest one and make him jealous to death. As for whether the real master will not have the strongest supernatural power at his disposal, whatever, the most important thing is to shock this soulless eyeball now. If he doesn't like this nonsense, he will feel resentful soon. The monk in cassock proudly said, in terms of supernatural powers, I can use the effect of ghost relics to give you a second supernatural power on the spot. Among these supernatural powers, the strongest is corpse explosion. As the name suggests, this is a gift that can completely the supernatural method of killing ghosts only requires a little blood as a medium. After detonating the first ghost, you can detonate all the ghosts around you as long as the distance is within 3 meters. With this, you will be a god in large-scale wars. What do you think? Do you want it? Isn't this more normal than your anti-humanistic crushing of planets and swallowing them alive? There was a hint of pride in his tone. It seems to be saying, please beg me, and I will give you this supernatural power. Shenji uncurled his lips. His eyes were full of disappointment. Just listening to it, this corpse explosion is indeed very powerful, and it can be called a magical skill in team battles, but is this comparable to his thunder method? Shen Jian's lips quivered. Lafatianchu. The next moment, the sky is overcast. Rolling muffled thunder sounded. A large thunderstorm cloud formed, covering the entire ghost town. The thunder dragon and the electric snake can't stop swaying in it, and can suddenly descend at any time and destroy the entire ghost town. Compared to my thunder method, which one is better? Monk in cassock. He looked up in confusion. It seemed that through Shen Jian's memory, he could see the doomsday scene outside the ghost town that was like destroying the world. His expression froze on the spot. I almost couldn't breathe. Which one is better? Is this humming comparable? Compared with this so-called thunder method, corpse explosion supernatural is just a younger brother and cannot be on the stage at all. This is more of a die. Not just bullying. For a while, the Cassocked monk's arrogance weakened by 3 points. The originally straight back became a little shorter at this moment. It's hard to speak anymore. He hesitated and said, supernatural means are not enough. I still have many ghost weapons here. You also know how much a good supernatural weapon can increase the effect on ghosts. I have a blood-slaying axe here. As long as I silently recite the opponent's name and think about the opponent's appearance in my heart, and strike with one strike, even the world-destroying ghosts and gods will be dismembered. The most important thing is that the enemy cannot locate the source. Said. The monk in cassocks, who was still in his memory, carved out a blood-slaying axe on the spot, like a salesman trying his best to introduce his product, his words full of praise. He has a posture of with an axe in hand, I own the world. In his introduction, as long as you hold this ghost weapon, you can kill even world-destroying ghosts and gods if you want. And according to the other party's words, even if the real owner of the ghost relic chooses this supernatural weapon, the cassock monk will not give it away, or in other words, he will not tell anyone about this supernatural weapon at all. Because this ghost weapon can dismember even idealistic ghosts, including him. Therefore, Shen Jian was the first person to know about this supernatural weapon. The underlying meaning is obvious, choose it, just choose it, you choose it. Shen Jian glanced at it. The look of disgust remained. Think about it. He took out Ghost Emperor Shen Tu's exclusive underworld weapon, prison breaking from his body. The moment the black sword embryo appeared, the thick and edgeless blade began to buzz. Like an angry young lady, it escaped from Shen Jian's hand and flew straight towards the real hiding place of the blood slaughter axe. Poke everywhere. After a while of confusion, the black sword fetus flew back. Shake it with you. The fragments of the blood slaughter axe just fell from the sword body. The axe handle hit the ground hard. There was a clang. This sound was like hitting the cassocked monk in the heart. It made his pupils widen. Then, the black sword made a circle in front of the cassocked monk, and the tip of the sword scratched his neck, causing pain. To know. He is an idealistic existence. It is a pile of memory consciousness and cannot be killed at all. Killing him would mean destroying Shen Jian's memory. Even if Shen Jian destroys his memory in the end, he can still appear in other people's memories and avoid the impact. But this sword, which looked like an unfinished product, actually hurt him in his memory. This means that this sword can also dismember him. Think of this. The monk in cassock, who was still shocked and angry at the destruction of the blood slaughter axe, started to tremble again. The body is 3 points shorter. Want to cry but no tears. Your uncle, even if you are not satisfied with me introducing other supernatural weapons to the other party, you don't have to be so angry and just destroy it. If you do this, the blood slaughter axe will be like a pile of scrap metal. This is really the most powerful supernatural weapon I have here, and I keep it in my collection. It was clear that his heart was bleeding, but he still resisted and skipped the line of ghost weapons. I was afraid that the sword would become violent again. Destroy all the ghost weapons in his collection. He took a deep breath. A forced smile appeared on his face. It doesn't matter if the ghost weapon doesn't work, it just so happens that you have a powerful sword-shaped ghost weapon, and I have some special sword skills in my hand. Sword chi spans 30,000 miles, one sword radiates cold across 14 continents, have you heard of it? As long as you learn this, one day you will be able to do this. The words have not yet finished. Shen Jian grabbed the Ghost Emperor's sword embryo and drew it in the void. At once. Above the ghost town. Heaven and earth are clearly separated. A sword mark that separated the sky and the earth appeared quietly. In an instant. The ghost town is dead silent. All the ghosts were stunned. Looking blankly at the scene that can be called an eternal wonder. Is that so? Shen Jian put away his sword. He said neither salty nor lightly. Monk in cassock. He was in a daze. It was like seeing a miracle. Thump. He knelt. Really kneel down, literally. He knelt in Shen Jian's memory, lost in thought. It was as if he had suffered a blow and was unable to recover. Moment. Master, accept me. You are my master and the destined person I am waiting for. The cassocked monk's tone became eager. There was light in Shen Jian's eyes. What kind of rubbish has a destiny? This horse is his master. If you don't express your opinion quickly, what are you waiting for? Shen Jian. Seeing the 180-degree change in attitude, he looked like he was about to lick the cassocked monk on top, and his facial muscles twitched. I never expected that this person who obviously had a special relationship with Quesadagarba would be so spineless. Before he even took the initiative to Pua, the other party had already climbed up the pole and offered to make him the owner of the ghost relic. Think about it. Shen Jian pretended to be inappropriate and waved his hand. How can this be done? You have someone else's name engraved on your body and it is someone else's personal belongings. How can I have the nerve to occupy a dove's nest? When the monk in cassock heard this, he was unhappy. They argued with each other, who said that if someone else's name is engraved on it, it is a personal item. I have the freedom to choose the owner, and no one can interfere with me. I believe that you are the owner, so even if my father comes, I can't change this. Answer. Finished. He seemed to be afraid that Shen Jian wouldn't believe it, so he erased the word Wang Hao from the surface of the ghost relic on the spot. Subsequently, ask in a flattering manner, Master, what is your name? Yama. Soon. A new line of words appeared on the body surface of the ghost relic. Personal belongings, love, of the Lord of Hell. Shen Jian. It reminded him of some obscene image. Suddenly I felt that it seemed pretty good when used on Lin Yangzi, the girl in the red dress. Sometimes. Inspiration comes so unexpectedly. Thinking. Shen Jian suppressed some thoughts in his heart. When his eyes fell on the Cossack monk again, he had already put on a flattering smile. "Master, I am quite useful. Although you don't need it, there is no harm in learning more. Moreover, I remember that the ghost relic itself is a token. As long as you enter the true Buddha temple with it, you can immediately obtain the Buddha's son. Equal treatment." Shenjian said nothing. Instead, he rummaged through the large amounts of pheromones contained in the ghost relics. Unfortunately, there really is no backup plan for Ksatigarba preparations. But it's normal to think about it. The Buddhist kingdom itself is established in the ghost realm and is the first barrier. The identity of a Buddhist, massive resources and guidance from famous teachers are the second level of protection. Under such circumstances, if a true Buddhist still needs to rely on power that far exceeds the level of a fierce ghost to come back, then he is really useless. How could Ksatigarba's reincarnation be trash? In this way, there is really no need to secretly prepare a backup plan. Think about this. Shenjian gave up his plan to explore Ksatigarba's strength range. Collected the ghost relics. According to the words of the monk in Cossack, all the treasures in the ancestral hall were emptied. Until before leaving, Shenjian remembered that there was still something wrong. Then he took out a pen and paper and told the newcomers that he had vacated the place and that he no longer needed to worry about it and should look to the future. Finished writing. Shenjian K left with satisfaction. End of chapter.